Dad's Rolex was the only thing he left me. Not the house. Not the car. Just time. Frozen on a gold dial. Wrapped in leather worn soft from years on his wrist. It sat in my drawer for 6 months. Quiet. Untouched. A heartbeat trapped in metal. Then one morning it was gone. I tore the place apart. Checked drawers. Under the bed. Jewelry box. Empty. I confronted Mom. She didn't blink. "Oh, we sold it," she said, stirring sugar into her tea. "Your stepbrother needed capital for his startup. You understand." I didn't. She smiled like I was being dramatic. "Your father's gone, sweetheart. What use is that watch to you now? At least your new dad can benefit from it. My name is Georgia, and if you think you know how this ends, don't hold your breath. What happens when the only thing you're left with is the last thing anyone else understands?" I drove to the pawn shop that afternoon. Didn't know what I expected. Maybe to buy it back. Maybe just to stare at it behind glass. But the owner met me at the door. Middle-aged. Nervous. "You're Georgia Brooks?" he asked. I nodded. He reached under the counter and held it out. The Rolex. Untouched. Then he leaned in and said something that turned my spine to ice. "Ma'am, you need to see what was hidden inside this watch." He placed it on a cloth. Unscrewed the back with trembling fingers. Inside wasn't machinery. Not anymore. There was a slip of paper. Folded tight. Yellowed. Fragile. He handed it to me. I unfolded it slowly. One handwritten line. "If they find this before she does, trust no one." It was signed, Dad. And suddenly, the only thing they didn't want me to have was the only thing that mattered. I sat in my car for hours, holding the note like it might burn through my skin. "If they find this before she does, trust no one." Who was they? And why the hell would my father hide a message inside a Rolex? He was a quiet man. Tidy. Precise. Never late. Never loud. The kind of man who'd call you from the driveway instead of honking. The kind of man who left exactly one thing behind with everything hidden inside it. I drove home, not to the house I grew up in, to a storage unit I'd been paying for on my own since he died. His files. Old journals. Some military-grade lockboxes he never let me touch. Until now. I opened the unit, dug through his belongings like a woman possessed, and finally found it a leather-bound planner wrapped in a grocery bag. Inside, codes, symbols, coordinates, and a note in his same sharp handwriting. "Only she will know the pattern." My chest tightened. I flipped through pages. Lines and numbers. Names I didn't recognize. But on the last page, written in blue pen, like an afterthought, was my name. "Georgia, the day will come. You'll be alone. But you'll be ready." That was the moment I knew. My father hadn't just left me a watch. He'd left me a warning. And maybe a weapon. The next morning I got a call. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Then came the voicemail. A man's voice. "You have something that doesn't belong to you. Return it, or you'll lose more than time." I froze. I hadn't told anyone. Not the pawn shop owner. Not even my best friend. But someone knew. And someone was watching. I looked at the watch again. And for the first time since he died, I whispered into the silence. "Okay, Dad. Let's see what they were so afraid of." I drove to the edge of town, where the cell signal faded and the air felt older. The first set of coordinates from Dad's planner led here. An abandoned train depot tucked behind a row of forgotten trees. As a kid, I remember him parking near this place once. He said it was the only quiet spot left. Now I understood why. I parked, watch in my pocket, planner on the seat. Walked up to the rusted gate. It opened like it had been waiting for me. Inside the depot, I followed faded arrows painted along the concrete. Red, then blue, then green. They led me to a wall. Cracked. Burned. With a loose brick and a small safe buried behind it. Combination lock. I took out the Rolex. Held it to the light. There, etched on the back case. 180633. His birthday. Mine. The year of the first watch he ever gave me. The fake plastic one from the county fair. I dialed the code.
Click. Inside.
Another note. And a flash drive. The note read, "If they're still watching, don't go home. Not yet." I pocketed both, heart pounding, breath ragged. As I stepped back into the daylight, my phone vibrated. Blocked number. Again. I let it ring. Then checked my car's mirror. A dark SUV was parked 2 blocks behind me. Engine running. Windows tinted. Watching. I didn't go back to the car. I walked the opposite direction. Cut through alleyways. Boarded a bus headed out of town with nothing but the drive, the note, and the Rolex tucked under my sleeve. Dad wasn't paranoid.
He was preparing me.
For what? I didn't know yet. But whatever was inside that flash drive was worth hiding inside a watch. And worth chasing, maybe even killing, to retrieve. I booked a motel room an hour outside the city.
Cash.
No ID. The kind of place with buzzing lights and no questions. I waited until 2 a.m. Then I pulled out the flash drive. Plugged it into my old laptop, the one Dad gave me for college. The one with no cloud, no sync, no trace. The screen lit up. One folder. No title. Inside. Videos. Documents. Scans of contracts. Photos. I clicked the first video. Grainy footage. My stepfather. Younger.
Sweaty. Sloppy.
Sitting across from a man I didn't recognize, who slid a folder across the table. And then I heard it. Stepfather. As long as the money keeps moving, no one in the family asks questions. The daughter's irrelevant. Her dad's dying anyway. The date on the video? For months before my father's death. My stomach flipped. This wasn't a startup. This was a cover. I opened another file. Life insurance policy. Dad's signature forged, transferring half the payout into a private account under my stepbrother's name. Another. Emails between my mom and the lawyer. Cold. Efficient. Mom wrote, "If she ever asks questions, say the funds were never filed. She's sentimental. That watch will keep her distracted." They didn't just steal from me. They erased him.
Piece by piece.
Until all that was left was a Rolex with secrets tucked behind glass.
And now?
They knew I had it all. At 3:12 a.m., I got another message. No number. Just text. "We warned you.
Come home.
Alone. Or the next thing we take won't be money." I stared at the screen. Then I stared at myself in the mirror. Not scared. Not anymore. Because I wasn't going home to make peace. I was going home to break everything. The sky was still dark when I arrived back in town. I didn't go home. I went to the one place they'd never think to look, Dad's workshop behind the church. Half the town thought it had been cleared out, but the key still worked. Inside. Dust, old tools, his faded army jacket hanging like a ghost on the wall. I slid the flash drive into a copy machine from the 90s. The kind with no internet but plenty of print. Printed every file, every email, every transaction. 100 pages of betrayal, black ink on white paper. Then I put them in a binder labeled Startup Pitch. Because why not twist the knife? I drove to the house, the one I used to call home. They were waiting, of course. Mom opened the door, bathrobe tight, mouth already tense. Behind her, my stepfather stood like a man who knew secrets only worked when no one else was looking. "Where's the drive?" she said. I held up the binder instead. "Read it together," I said. "Family project." I pushed past her, sat at the kitchen table. The same one where they told me, "We just can't divide Dad's assets 3 ways. It's complicated." She opened the binder. I scanned. Face changed. By page 4, her hands started shaking. By page 11, she sat down. Didn't speak. Stepfather flipped faster, like he could read away the truth. He reached for my arm. "I don't know what you think you're doing." I stood. "I'm doing exactly what Dad trained me for." Mom looked up. "What does that mean?" "It means this isn't a negotiation." I dropped a small envelope on the table. Inside, copies of everything. Labeled and addressed to the IRS, a local journalist, Dad's former military contact. "If anything happens to me," I said, "they go out." "You wouldn't." my stepfather said, but his voice cracked. I already did, I replied. He opened his mouth again, but Mom stopped him. Her eyes never left mine. Georgia, she whispered. What do you want? I smiled. The time you stole. The silence that followed wasn't peace. It was fear, and I let it sit. I let it marinate. For once, I wasn't the one filling the space, begging for decency or closure. They were. By the end of the week, my stepbrother's startup website disappeared. The PayPal links vanished. Investors?
Gone.
Turns out, they don't like being associated with words like fraud and forgery, especially when screenshots start circulating in private business forums. The ones Dad used to moderate quietly under pseudonym. Meanwhile, the lawyer they hired to manage Dad's estate? He resigned. Cited ethical conflicts. I didn't even have to pick up the phone. The truth moved like water through cracked concrete. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Mom showed up at my door. No makeup. No ring. Just a folder in her hand and regret smeared across her face like mascara that didn't wash off. I want to fix this, she said. I let her stand on the porch. I didn't invite her in. Your father didn't tell me everything, she added. I was scared. I didn't think you'd understand. I folded my arms. Don't lie to me in my doorway. You knew. You just didn't care. She opened the folder. Inside. The deed to Dad's workshop. Signed over.
To me.
This is all I can give, she said. The rest it's broken. I didn't smile.
Didn't soften.
But I took the deed. Not because it made things right, but because it made something mine. As she walked away, she turned back one last time. You're really your father's daughter. No, I thought. I'm my own. But I let her keep the illusion. It was the kindest thing I had left to offer. I took the deed straight to the courthouse. Filed it myself. No attorney. No middleman. Just me, my signature, and a woman behind the desk who glanced at the paper and said, You fought for this, didn't you? I nodded. And, for once, I didn't feel tired. I felt real. Later that day, I returned to the workshop. Unlocked the rusted door with my name on it now. Ran my fingers along the table where Dad used to fix radios, watches, lives. And for the first time since his funeral, I cried. Not for what they did. Not for what they stole. But for the man who hid a whole legacy inside a watch. Because he knew no one else would protect it. I spent the next week clearing it out. Every bolt. Every blueprint. Every quiet message he left in the margins of notebooks. Buried in one of the drawers, I found an envelope I'd somehow missed. My name written in sharp black ink. Inside. If you're reading this, you passed the test. Don't let forgiveness keep you from boundaries. And don't let love become your leash. You're not here to carry broken people. You're here to build. Signed, Dad. I pressed it to my chest like a heartbeat. Because he wasn't paranoid. He was preparing me. The next day, I reopened the space. Not as a workshop, but a trust center. Free financial classes. Quiet support for women pushed out of inheritances. For daughters who are told, it's not really yours. And on the glass door, painted in soft gold script, Brooks and Time, for those they tried to leave behind. I didn't post about it, didn't announce it, but within a week, the line wrapped around the block. Because sometimes healing isn't loud. Sometimes it's just honest. The first person to walk through the doors of Brooks and Time was a girl no older than 19. Trembling hands. Quiet eyes. She said her stepfather had sold off her grandmother's land and told her, nothing was ever in your name, anyway. I didn't ask for details. I just pulled out a chair, taught her how to file, how to fight back, how to stay standing. She left with a folder, a plan, and her chin held 1 inch higher than when she walked in. After that, more came. Women, men, people who had been quietly erased by bloodlines and bank accounts. The forgotten, the dismissed, the extras. I made space for every single one. Not as a hero, as proof that you can rise even when they strip you to the bone, that you can rebuild from ashes they never bothered to sweep. A month later, I visited Dad's grave, laid a watch down on the stone. Not the Rolex. A new one. Steel.
Clean.
Timeless. And a note beneath it. You were right.
They tried.
But I was ready. As I walked back to the car, my phone buzzed. An alert from a news site.
Headline.
Woman converts inheritance scandal into lifeline for dozens. Brooks and Time gains national attention. I didn't smile. I just exhaled. Because they stole from me. They mocked me. Sold my father's memory for a pitch deck. And now, they watched me become untouchable. Not from revenge, but from truth. At home, I tucked Dad's planner away. Not out of sight. Just into a drawer with a lock. Some things don't need to be carried anymore. Some things already did their job. And the girl who was handed nothing but time? She used it. Every last second.